Shalom Chavra, thank you for working with me and continuing the learning, even if it's being done remote. But it's a big schos that we shouldn't miss out a day of learning. The hours that we put in is not something that we should treat lightly, and I appreciate that we're able to do it in this way. I want to thank Yaakov Altman for being the tech guy and making sure this works. I hope the Hashem self that will get uploaded properly and that everyone can continue following along. And I appreciate it very much. I'm going to be doing it a shorter shiur, being that it's not interactive. It's not that's not the same geschmack. I'll be doing it shorter, but we shouldn't have a day of learning that we're going to miss a day of learning. We shouldn't have. I even wrote a second paper, which is. Yesterday, I given out a paper for everyone, and Yaakov, thank you for uploading it to the Google Drive. I wrote a paper for the Gemara that's before yesterday's paper. Hold off on that. We have a few lines, and I wrote out a paper which I'm going to upload as well. And this is the first paper that we're going to be using. Now, it seems like it's a long paper, but it just a few lines that simplified very much. I realized if you write it out and it simplifies things, I'll actually explain the paper before, and then we'll see the Gemara inside. But it's a short Gemara, but I think this paper will simplify things a lot. Yesterday we had two things we discussed yesterday. Was the blowings that accompanied the Musaf, and we also discussed the Shiur Shel Musaf that was sung when they brought their karbanos, and we said that there was six different shiuros that were sung. Today we're going to discuss something else. Today we're going to discuss what you daven when we say Musaf. We all know this, that when we daven Musaf on Sukkot, whether it's on Yom Tov, whether it's on Chol Hamoed, there are certain parts of the tefillah that we have to insert into the davening, and we know it's B'yom Hasheni, B'yom Hashlishi. Some days we say two. We're not really sure we know exactly how. We look in the Siddur and it says on the first day Chol Hamoed say this, the second day Chol Hamoed say that. The next three lines of Gemara are going to be discussing that, and I wrote it out, and I'm going to go through it on the paper. On this side, now hopefully you'll be able to pull up the paper, which I'm going to upload to the Google Drive, and that you don't have to see it necessarily through here. You can look at it on your paper. But on this side, this is an Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, they have the one day of Yom Tov. They have 6 days of Chol Hamoed, the sixth day being Hoshana Rabbos. So that's 7 days in total. The first day Yom Tov, 6 days of Chol Hamoed, the sixth being Hoshana Rabbah, and then Shmini Atzeres. So that's in Eretz Yisrael. What do you say in Musaf? What's the insertions that you say in Musaf? Agav, it's also something which we say, when we lane, we add this for the last aliyah. We add this as well. So what is it that we take out a second Sefer Torah and we add this? We add with this what we say on Sukkot, and we say on Chol Hamoed as well. So on the first day of Sukkot in Eretz Yisrael, we say Ubechamisha Asar. That's what we say. That's what we insert into the Musaf Shemona Esrei. Corresponds to the karbanos that were brought that day. Then on the second day of Yom Tov, which is I wrote of Chol Hamoed 1, it's the first day of Chol Hamoed, you say B'yom Hasheni, because really it's the second day Yom Tov. Now B'yom Hasheni describes karbanos that are brought on Chol Hamoed. It's which is more chol than it's not Kodesh like Yom Tov, so that's B'yom Hasheni. Now we go on to the second day Chol Hamoed, you say B'yom Hashlishi. The third day Chol Hamoed, you say B'yom Harvi. The fourth day you say B'yom Chamishi. The fifth day you say U'B'yom HaShishi, and the sixth day you say U'B'yom HaShvi'i on the seventh day. Okay, now the first day we say U'B'chamish Asar. That's another way of saying B'yom HaRishon, because that's the first day of Yom Tov. Chamish Asar, the 15th day of the month. So it's like the first day we say U'B'chamish Asar, and let's call it B'yom HaRishon. The second day U'B'yom HaSheni. The first day Chol Hamoed, you'd say B'yom HaSheni. The second day Chol Hamoed, you say B'yom HaShishi, which is really the third day since Yom Tov had begun. Okay. Now, that's for Eretz Yisrael. The Shaila comes up in the Chutz La'aretz. Let's jump to this side for a second. Chutz La'aretz, we start off with 2 days Yom Tov. We have the first day Yom Tov, and we have a second day Yom Tov. Now, on the second day Yom Tov, on the first day Yom Tov, we're going to say V'chamisha Asar, just like they do in Eretz Yisrael. The second day of Yom Tov, Chutz La'aretz, we cannot say B'yom HaSheni. B'yom HaSheni is describing, we cannot say this B'yom HaSheni, put it into the second day Yom Tov. Because that's talking about karbanos born on Chol Hamoed, and we're treating the second day as Yom Tov. So we're going to repeat v'chamisha asar. We're going to repeat the laning of the first day Yom Tov, the second day Yom Tov. Now comes the big question of our Gemara. What do you say on the third day, which is really the first day Chol Hamoed in Chutz La'aretz? What are you going to say? Are you going to start from, look at this, take over Yom Sheni, which was said on the second day in Eretz Yisrael, the first day Chol Hamoed in Eretz Yisrael, and now say it over here? So you can what's the pattern? We say Ubayayim Hasheni, Ubayam Hashlishi, Ubayam Ravi, Ubayam Hachamishi, Ubayam Hashishi. Now, what do you do with the Yom HaShvi? We don't say that on Shmini Atzeres. Where are you going to say Yom HaShvi? You're going to omit it. You're going to omit over Yom HaShvi. You're not going to say it at all. Because you everything was pushed up one because you had a second day Yom Tov. Over Yom HaShvi, which you said over here, you're not going to say that. Rather, you'll say over Yom HaShishi, and over Yom HaShvi is omitted. That's one option that's going to be presented in the Gemara. Option number two is that, no, when you start Chol Hamoed, don't go back and start from Yom HaSheni, which you really missed already. Start from Uva Yom HaShlishi. Start from Uva Yom HaShlishi, Uva Yom HaRavi, Uva Yom HaChamishi, Uva Yom HaShishi, Uva Yom HaShvi. Skip Uva Yom HaSheni. Don't say that at all. So now we're not going to say Uva Yom HaSheni. So which one are you going to omit? Are you going to omit Uva Yom HaSheni like the second option we just gave? Or like we said first, you're going to start from Uva Yom HaSheni. You'll continue on and go, and you'll end up omitting and not saying Uva Yom HaShvi. That's the Gemara Shaila right now. So that's just a layout over here, just to see how it's done in Eretz Yisrael, how it's done in America. We have a third option, which we'll discuss when we do the Gemara in a minute. Let's just start the Gemara. It's 3-line Gemara, but this is the layout of that Gemara. Va'anon and us. The Islan, Va'anon and us in Chutz La'aretz. The Islan Shrei Yomei. We have 2 days of Yom Tov. Our Yom Tov starts with 2 days. Hechi Avdinan. Now, Hechi Avdinan, Rabbi Isai, a small footnote. How should we say the insertions of Musaf? Because these are extra. This is what we say. Musaf has to occur. The Tefillas Musaf corresponds to the Kabbanais. So how do we add in the insertions? Now, that paper which I was showing you for was to show you the layout of that. You have to add in every day. So what are you going to do? The shaila is, where do you pick up from? So you can write Hechi Avdinan. How do we say the insertions of Musaf? And the shaila, if you want to even add on, is do we start on Chol Hamoed from? The first 2 days we know we have to say Uva Chamisha Asar. That's that we can't. Now on the third day of Yom Tov, third day, which is really the first day of Chol Hamoed, do you start from Uva Yom HaSheni or do you jump to Uva Yom HaShlishi? Hechi Avdinan. Abaya says Sheni Yitcha. Sheni is removed, is pushed away, and begin from Uva Yom HaShlishi. Sheni Yitcha. So on the paper I wrote the question, I just wrote the answer, but in the Gemara it's clear, you don't need this one. On the first day Chol Hamoed, where do we pick up the reading from? Abaya says skip and omit Uva Yom HaSheni and begin from Uva Yom HaShlishi. Rava says Shvi Yitcha. Omit this Uva Yom HaShvi, which means you're gonna, and you got a footnote, begin from Uva Yom HaSheni. Begin on the first day Chol Hamoed for Uva Yom HaSheni, although we'll end up omitting and not saying Uva Yom HaShvi. Klar. Says the Gemara, Tanya Kavasei de Rava. We're going to learn a brisa like Rava. What's this brisa? This is something we saw earlier on yesterday's Gemara. In Chal Shabbos, we find that when it comes to the Shiur of Musaf, right now we're not discussing the Shiur of Musaf. Right now what we're discussing is the insertions in the tefillos of Musaf that we daven. Or, like I said, that we also, this is what we do in Kriyas HaTorah, but we're discussing the additional tefillos of Shemoneh Esrei. But yesterday we discussed the Shiur of Musaf, and they had a specific Shiur, and we went through Hambi and Havavi, all the different arrangements of which Tehillim you say, the Shiurim, that was sung. Now the Gemara wants to, when the Gemara is going to bring a raya from that Gemara. It said yesterday, Tanya Kabbalah said the Baya, we learned that Imchal Shabbos Liyos Bechen Mehen, if Shabbos falls out on any day of Chol Hamoed, and we said yesterday that the Shiur Shal Shabbos takes precedence, and you're going to push away. You're not going to say the Shiur of the Chol that day. So what are you going to do now? So says the Gemara, you might do Yitche, push away you might do, which is the seventh. You might do was the seventh. What you might do was was the last one. Was it the seventh or the sixth? Yes, I'm sorry. You might do was the sixth. And we said, being that it's the last one, push away the last song, which means after Shabbos, continue from where you left off. Although you'll now have an extra, the last song, you might do, which was the song that you sung in the last day, you have no place for it right now. So this is a raya that whenever you have to skip something, and in our case, you're starting late, you're starting the reading in the chutzlar, you're starting the tefillah late, continue from where you left off, which is, we start from Yom HaSheni, continue going down, the last day, Yom HaShvi, omit the last day, just like we're saying over here, just like we said by the Shiur Shel Musaf, omit the last song, so to omit the last, that's a right to our Gemara that you should omit the last insertion of Musaf and don't say Yom HaShvi in Chutzlar. It's klar. Now the Gemara says, Askin Ameimer. Now this is actually what we do now. Askin Ameimer. Amir was Masakin. Bernarda, the medalge deluge, that we jump back. The medalge means we skip, but in this context we're saying we skip backwards, we go back one, which means on day one, on the first day of Chol Hamoed, over here where this question mark is, you're going to say Uvayim Hasheni and Uvayim Hashlishi. Over here. Next day Chol Hamoed, you're going to say, now let's go down one. Now the next day of Chol Hamoed, you start Uvayim Hashlishi, Uvayim Haravi. The next day Chol Hamoed, Uvayim Haravi, Uvayim Chamishi. The next day Chol Hamoed, Uvayim Chamishi, Uvayim Shishi. And that last day of Chol Hamoed, you're going to say Uvayim Hashishi, Uvayim Hashvi'i. In this way, we're not skipping anything. We're just going to be repeating, going back and repeating one. Going back and repeating one every day. We go back and repeat one, and that way we're left. With saying, and we end up saying all of them. We don't skip. We start with Yom HaSheni, and then every day afterwards we say two of them. Okay, klar. Let's make a schola in the new Mishnah. And for the new Mishnah, it's kedai to have the paper that I given out yesterday. I hope I have one with me. Okay. This is the paper that we gave out yesterday. Also, Yaakov uploaded this. So let's just take a look at what the paper says. This is the introduction over here. On day one of Sukkot, there were 13 bulls. Those are the parim. 2 rams. Those are the elim. 1 goat, the seir, and 14 lambs. So that's a total of 30 karbanis that were brought. Okay, so you have 30 karbanis that are brought, and those are brought on the first day of Sukkot. 24 groups, now we're going down the paper, 24 groups of Kohanim, those are called Mishmarais. Throughout a yearly, through a yearly cycle, 24 groups of Kohanim would take 2 weeks at a time, and they'll be alternating serving the Beis Hamikdash. However, when it came time to Sukkot, because the Kabbanis are so chashiv, the Kabbanis of Sukkot are so chashiv, we allow them all to participate in the Kabbanis in the Sukkot Kabbanis. So we have 24 groups of Kohanim that divided up the bringing of these Kabbanis, these 30 Kabbanis. So now you have 24 groups dividing up 30 Kabbanis. How are we going to do that? But just before we explain the division and how it's divided up, the 30 Kabbanis among 24 groups, there's one more thing we have to know. However, this is what we wrote in the paper. Each day of Sukkot, the number of bulls started by 13, diminished by 1. So the first day bought 13 bulls, the next day bought 12, and the next day bought 11, 10, 9, 8. And this went down for all the days of Sukkot. So example, now this is day 1. Now we'll see this in the Gemara. Day 1, this is what the Gemara is going to do, but I'm going to just say it once before. So I think if we have it in our mind, it'll be easier to read the Mishnah. Day 1, 13 groups bought 13 bulls. So you have 13 out of 24. 2 groups brought the rams, because we have 2 rams. So now we have 15 already. 1 group brought the goat, 16. So now we have 16. We have already 16 of the 24 groups of Kohanim. Those are called Mishmarais. We'll use that term Mishmarais. 16 Mishmarais already have a job. They're bringing the other kabbanis. We have left is 8 groups remained to bring 14 lambs. So on day 1, 6 groups brought 2 lambs each. So being that we have 14 lambs and we have 8 groups, 6 groups brought 2 each, that's a total of 12. And the remaining 2 groups each brought the last 2 lambs. So 6 groups brought 2 each, 12. You have 2 groups left and you have 2 lambs left. Now everyone brings 1 lamb. Now, what's going to happen is that on day 2, being that the bulls are diminished, the bulls go down from, you bring 1 less bull from 13 to 12. So now let's just think about this for a second. 13 bulls went down to 12. So you now 12 groups are going to bring the 12 bulls. 2 groups will bring the rams. It's 14 now. 1 group will bring the goat. Now we have 9 groups of Kahanim remaining, not 8 like we said before. Being that we took away 1 bull, we have 9 groups of Kahanim for 14 lambs. How are you going to divide that up? The Mishnah will say, and then we'll say this, and then we'll go to the Mishnah. 5 groups brought 2 each, so that's 10. We have 4 left, and the remaining 4 groups each brought 1 lamb. That should be very clear if you look at this paper. That was explained over here without even beginning the Mishnah. I'm going to read just the Mishnah. The truth is, I would ask everyone that I'm going to stop now because I said that I don't want to go too long, and it's 16 minutes, and it's short. But I'm asking everyone to let's at least get those lines in of the previous Gemara. Let's have it clear, and if we could please read the beginning of this, read the beginning of this paper, just to have the layout, because once we understand how things work, we plug that right into the Mishnah, and the Mishnah will read beautifully. I said to Elam, I apologize again. I do whatever I can not to miss Shiurim. Like I said, the Torah of Tzibur is a big achrayis, and it's a big cheshbonos. Unfortunately, I have to be at the yeshiva event tomorrow night, so most likely we will have a repeat in Mitzvah Hashem, and we'll be doing the Mishnah. But thank you, everybody, and everyone, please keep up with the duns, the chizuk we all need from the duns, and just so that's what we do as a chabura. Thank you, everyone. Everyone should be gebench, and hopefully everyone's enjoying a little bit more time at home. Shkaich, everyone, have a lot of tzlach and siyata d'shmai and everything. Be gebench. Kol tov.